They say that the longer the wait, the more satisfying the experience. Well, if that's true, then fans waiting 17 years for a sequel to a classic 80s film should have had a wonderful time bolstered by the end of their anticipation. Or did they? Find out as we attempt to prove to you that Roadhouse 2 is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. And we have a special surprise for you on today's episode because for the first time in It's Not That Bad history, we are doing the sequel to an episode or a previous episode, and here to join us for this one is the man who went down Roadhouse Road with us the first time, Gomez from the Sleevey G podcast. Dude, welcome back to the show. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastic. Excited about Roadhouse 2. I don't know why, but I'm excited about it.
I think you may have been the only person excited for Roadhouse 2. But here's the thing. When we were talking about covering this film, like, I know how much the first Roadhouse actually meant to you. But then when you discover that there's a Roadhouse 2 that actually exists, and B, you realize that it definitely qualifies for this show. What was your reaction? Yeah, what was your reaction to knowing that you had to go down sequel road?
Well, I think because, again, the love for the first movie, you know what I mean? And what was kind of funny, we were both texting each other through Twitter, and we were talking about the new Roadhouse that's going to be coming out on Amazon with Jake Gyllenhaal. And that's what sparked this. I go, dude, did you know there was a Roadhouse 2 with Jake Busey and Jonathan?
Yeah, we're going to mess his name up a few times. Jonathan Skaich.
Thank you. I was going to call him Sasquatch.
I'm assuming that's how we pronounce his last name. By the way, if we do mess up any names, remember, Canadian idiot, basement me, microphone. But, that's my disclaimer on this one there. But, yeah, no, like when you realize...
Cuban, New Jersey. Hold on. Cuban, New Jersey. I have an accent, so...
Exactly.
That's my... I'm with the Soprano family.
But yeah, like, did you even know that this movie existed before we were talking about it?
I did know this movie existed because I remember I was watching, it was like an FX channel or, Vice, one of those channels that usually have B, C, D movies on. And once in a while, you'll catch a decent flick that it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
This one wasn't that bad. I was watching the movie. I remember I caught like halfway to the end. I'm like, Roadhouse 2. I go, and a Busey's in it? Oh, God. And then I look at it and I realize who it is. I was thinking Daddy, but it was actually his son, Jake, which I didn't even realize his name was Jake Busey. I thought it was Jack Busey. Figure that one out.
Yeah. Make sure you get the right Busey here, because that does kind of tip the scales as to whether it's going to be good or bad or not.
Surprisingly, the guy's a decent actor. I have to give him that. If you watched Starship Troopers?
There was Starship Troopers, yep.
I love that movie. And he actually played the part perfectly as a dumbass army guy, career guy. He played it perfectly to the T. But that's a whole another movie we could always talk about later on the road. But yes, I knew about the movie. I saw only the first half, the ending, the halfway through the movie to the ending. Then the next day I actually was able to DVR the whole movie. Then I started understanding the whole plot to the movie. This was Dalton's nephew, Shane Tanner. I'm just going to go with his movie name. I'm not going with his real name. I can't even pronounce his last one. But, that this is Dalton's nephew, which was like, what? Where the hell happened to Dalton? But, at that time, Dalton could have gotten killed for all we know after Roadhouse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Or he actually retired with what's her face?
With Doc.
With the Doc.
Yeah.
Which with Kelly Lynch, which I would have not mind retiring myself with her too, if I had a choice, or Julie Michaels, one of the two would have been nice to retire with. Don't matter. But I knew about the movie. I actually thought the movie was pretty decent when it came to the action and everything. Acting was a little suspect. But, I thought there was a plot to the movie. There was a bar that was involved. There was fighting.
There was a bar and there was fighting, and that's kind of the criteria that I think you need for a Roadhouse film.
Well, this one had more to it.
But before we get a little bit further into the weeds on this one here, it is time to take this sizzling sequel and trailerize it.
You loved Roadhouse, and how a no-nonsense cooler brought the cool to an action flick. Now, watch as the uncoolest guy from That Thing You Do tries to do his cool thing in Roadhouse 2, Last Call. Jonathan Skate is Shane Tanner, son of the legendary John Dalton, even though they have different last names. And if you didn't know they were related, just count how many times they say Dalton in the movie. Trust me, it's a lot. I lost count. He returns home to help defend his uncle's bar from a crime syndicate looking to buy him out for the real estate. Along the way, bar fights break out. A hot blonde entered his life, and they just rewrote the first one and added a 2 at the end, didn't they? Kinda feels that way. It's Last Call for Roadhouse 2. Rated R for reboot.
Love it. I'm trying not to laugh throughout the whole thing, but that was such a great entrance.
Sadly, a little too accurate, I think. But let's get into who's in this film. The film stars, and I'm going to actually tell you some of the other movies that they've been in, because some of these names may not be that familiar to you. Of course, we talked about Jacob Busey, and he was in Starship Troopers. Jonathan Skate, he was the singer of the Oneaters in That Thing You Do.
He was the lead singer, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was Jimmy.
Wow. Jimmy was chiseled.
Right?
He was chiseled for this movie.
He worked out. It worked well. Will Patton, you could watch him in Armageddon. He was also in The Punisher, the John Travolta, Thomas Jane one. Richard Norton. We've actually talked about him on this podcast before because he was in Jim Cotta. Oh, that film. Loved actually watching the film just for the insanity of it, but he was in Jim Cotta. By the way, go back and listen to that episode. This was also the film that's the cinematic debuts of both Ellen Holman and Marissa Quintanilla. However, there is an almost starring in this one because it almost starred Patrick Swayze. Apparently, the part of Nate Tanner, as played by Will Patton, was supposed to be Dalton himself, but apparently there were creative differences and then Swayze backed away. So then they had to kind of rejig the character. The film is directed by Scott Zeal, and if you think doing one unasked for sequel was bad enough, he also directed Cruel Intentions 3, which correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there was Cruel Intentions 3?
There was. I think there was even 4 and others too.
I know there was 2.
Right?
I didn't know there was 3.
It's like when you get to like Lion King 2.5 and you're like, did we ask for this? No. So why?
There's Lion King 2.5?
Yeah, I think there is. Or 1.5 or something like that. Math apparently is on the test today. This is a direct-to-video release, so there's no box office numbers available. However, the reason why we're here, aside from the fact that I like to have Gomez on the show, is the critics. There is no Metacritic score for this one. However, over at Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is 34%. Which is pretty high.
It's
not bad, right?
That's actually not bad.
There's no official tomatometer, so I had to pull out the abacus and figure this one out. There are 4 reviews, and if you take the average of the 4 scores, it works out to about a 32% tomatometer. One of them was a straight up 0, so you could tell how. So the other ones actually weren't that bad. But let's compare it though. With an aggregate 32% tomatometer and a 34% audience score. It's not, at least the tomatometer is not that far off from the original. Roadhouse had a 66% audience score, but only a 41% tomatometer. So really, this one, as far as a critic's point of view, is actually not that far off from the original Patrick Swayze one. Like, I'm not going to lie, that surprised me.
That would surprise me too, actually, if you think about it.
Like I'm not saying that straight to DVD equals straight to the garbage bin, but
No.
that's a decent score for a film that, I'm not going to lie, going into this, I had zero expectations of what to expect out of this film. Like, the bar for me was low. Like, low.
The Pelican? Come on. That's a great name for a bar, the Pelican. Especially was it in Louisiana?
It was in Louisiana.
It was in the bayou. You can't go wrong with that. Sweatiness, humidity. You need some talcum powder. You know what I mean? Jeez.
Like, I'm not going to lie. Having it be at a bar like the Pelican made it different from, like, I'm glad they didn't go back to the Double Deuce. I'm glad they didn't. I mean, there's enough almost, copy pasting from the original that, and we're going to talk about that. But I love the fact that it wasn't at the Double Deuce. It was a different bar. But let's get into the breakdown of this here. We're going to start with Jonathan Skate, who played Shane Tanner. Aside from being jacked, how was he for you?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't realize, first of all, that was the lead singer from the Oneaters or the Wonders. I'm sorry. First of all, I thought he did pretty good as an actor. First of all, he's a DEA agent, if I remember correctly, or FBI.
He's DEA, yeah.
Oh, he's DEA. Okay, so he is in the law enforcement where his dad, or Dalton, was he was just a straight up bouncer and philosopher and complete bull with his philosophy, the yin and yang and the bang bang. I thought Shane did a great job. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I apologize. I ain't saying your last name because I can't say it correctly. Sasquatch. I mean, Sasquatchy, whatever your name is.
We have found Sasquatch. He's in Louisiana.
Yeah, so I thought he did a great job playing Shane Tanner as, which is kind of funny. He says he's Dalton's son, right? With a different name. Was he adopted?
I'm not quite sure because, the uncle, as played by Will
Nate
Patton,
Tanner.
is Nate Tanner. Yeah, so it's you wonder if Dalton's like a work name to kind of protect his privacy.
It makes me wonder a little bit because that's what I'm trying to say. Shane's name is Tanner and Dalton was his first. Well, we never knew if Dalton had a full name. We just knew him as Dalton.
Well, according to IMDb, he is John Dalton.
See, I didn't even know his name was John until now. John Tanner?
It would make sense if somewhere in the in the script, and again, if Swayze was involved with this, and the script was worked a little bit, then okay, maybe it was Shane Dalton originally,
maybe.
Or maybe this is Shane Tanner's police given name to protect his privacy. Like,
I think that might have been it. I might have to go with that. Or Nate Tanner, maybe he cheated on the doc and he went out for a Tanner, and there, poof, an illegitimate son of Shane Tanner might have happened. Dalton was the daddy. You never know. He went through a lot of bars.
Yeah. It's sad too, because like you have, him having these flashbacks of being a kid and, working in the heavy bag. And it's, Nate's voice that's saying, "I'm really proud of you." And it's like, where the heck is the dad in all of this, right? Like, I get creative differences and you got to rework the script, but I need to put this out there. This felt like a spec script, and maybe a little close to Roadhouse, and the studio's probably like, we could make this into Roadhouse too. Let's get Swayze involved, and then like it didn't work out, so then they basically went back to the spec script. It feels like a spec script that was a little too close to Roadhouse, right? It's kind of like whatever American Psycho 2 was.
Yeah, which I forgot about that. That was with Mila Kunis.
Yeah,
Mila Kunis
and William Shatner.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Which that was basically a spec script, and then you slap on American Psycho on it. It just doesn't make sense. But, I like the fact that he's not a professional cooler. I like the fact that he's not a professional bouncer. He's a DEA agent, right?
But he lived by the rules.
Oh, absolutely, right? I'm sure. Well, come on. Like, the fact that his uncle owns a bar, and is basically its own cooler as well. His his father is the legendary Dalton, right? So of course he's going to know the rules. But I like the fact that it's slightly different. You know, it's not cookie cutter from the original, and I think he actually fit the DEA agent mold better than just a straight cooler. Like he didn't come across as, you know, take no nonsense and take it outside kind of attitude. He felt a little bit more by the book.
No, but you know, it's kind of funny. I'm reading up a little bit right now as we're speaking. So there is something here. Dalton himself isn't actually in Roadhouse 2. Viewers find out on the character he died prior to filming.
Mm-hmm.
Drug kingpin Victor Cross, Richard Norton, has sent the bar's former disgruntled cooler, Wild Bill, Jake Busey, to take out Shane, but ended up shooting Dalton in his place in an unsatisfactory on-screen death.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's your spoilers, by the way. You don't have to watch Roadhouse 2 now. You're welcome. But,
yeah, well, I mean, we're going to cover every inch on this movie because I'll tell you, it's very easy to cover it because if you watch Roadhouse 1, they just did a couple little changes of making Shane Tanner a DEA agent and made him a bouncer. A cooler, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing, too. Like, you go back to the first Roadhouse. It's not like Patrick Swayze is like, you know, he's cut. He's fit, right?
Oh, God.
But he's not like Stallone or Schwarzenegger, right?
No, but his body was very... Good Lord. Right? I still wanted Swayze's body at that point because he still had the 6-pack or 8-pack abs going.
Yeah, he had the full 12 going on, I think, at that point. But yeah, the thing with Jonathan Skache, he's not like a super jack kind of guy. Like I was worried, like with a movie like Roadhouse 2, they were going to toss like some wrestler in there to try and get like that WWE production money, but they didn't. They went with someone who himself he got ripped for this. Like he definitely put in the work to look the part.
He did.
So it felt natural for him to be Dalton's kid because he's not roided out.
No, and he wasn't exactly. He wasn't roided out whatsoever. That is true. I will give him that. I mean, Jesus Christ, I didn't even know Jake Busey was that freaking tall in that movie either. Okay. You didn't realize how tall he was until you see him in the movie. You're like, holy Christ.
Well, I remember in Starship Troopers, like him towering over Casper Van Dien. So,
that's true.
Yeah, I kind of had an inkling that he was tall, but not that tall. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Casper Van Dien, anybody could over tall him. Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't beat me in height. He's only 6'3".
Casper Van Dien's only 6'3"?
No, Jacob Busey.
Okay, so he's a little taller than me. Not by much, but he's a little taller than me.
Not by much, yeah. He's by an inch off of me.
Mm-hmm.
Casper.
But let's
you got me wondering.
We'll get you the height count for Casper Van Dien in a second here. But let's move on to Ellen Holman, who played Bo. How was she for you?
She actually, did pretty good. I was interested. Don't get me wrong. She was a knockout. I mean, this was one of her first movies, I think, wasn't it?
It was. It was her very first film. So
for her, starting her acting career in a B-rated movie, I guess, is a great way to go, because she's been in other different movies, actually. She was in the movie Spartacus, or the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
She was in The Scorpion King.
Yeah, The Scorpion King 4, let's be honest there.
Oh.
So, speaking of sequels no one asked for, but I mean, lately she's also been in The Matrix Resurrection. She was in Love and Monsters, which is on Netflix.
Yes, she was on Gladiator.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I need to say this, though, right? And this may be slightly controversial, but I'm going to put it out there anyways. Kelly Lynch, in the original film, is the worst part of that film.
Depending on what part of the film you were talking about.
I mean, if you're going to watch that scene, then okay, you're fine, right? But I mean, like, as far as character, like, her character didn't have a name. Her job title was her name. Like that just tells you how paper thin the character is actually written. Bo in this actually has a lot of not just a name, but she had a lot of depth to her character.
That's true. So they did change the lead female in Roadhouse 2 than Roadhouse 1. You're right. Kelly Lynch was known as Doc. What's her first name? Excuse my language, sorry.
That's okay.
It's just one of those days. What's her fucking first name? Doc? What are you gonna say? Let's go at it, Doc. I love it when I call you Doc.
Let me get you up on the wall, Doc.
Yeah, let me chew on a piece of carrot, Doc. Hey, You like it like this, rough, Doc? What the is that all about?
It's not
now
like,
that I'm thinking about it, now that we're talking about it, now we're thinking it. Holy shit, it didn't even crossed my mind in the first one.
But yeah, like Ellen Holman actually brought not just like the physicality of it, because I'm going to say this right now. One of the best fight scenes in this film is between her and Nadia in this near the end of the film.
Yes.
Like, she brought an athleticism to it. She brought like, a fit presence to it, but she also brought, not necessarily an obstacle, but basically a question that's lingering, right? Because there's that whole, what's the deal between her and Wild Bill? And then you find out they're related. But then it's like, is she going to like side with Wild Bill? Is she going to choose family over Shane? Like, there's a lot to Bo that I think is definitely an improvement over the single dimension that was Doc in the original.
And she's not an MMA fighter either. She was just, she trained for that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, she definitely brought it for that one. And it's nice to see, right? Like, we need to be blunt about this movie. There are some very sexist depictions of women in this film. Just, again, much like there was in the first Roadhouse here. So it's not like you expect it or not. Bo is a strong female character, and that's a good thing. But then you get Jake Busey, her cousin, again, spoilers, as Wild
Dumbass.
Bill. So I know whenever I see Jake Busey on the credit list, the expectations go lower. But how is Jake Busey for you?
I'm trying to find the right words for Jake Busey in this movie. He reminds me, oh God, let's put it this way. Remember that song, The Offspring, Pretty Fly for a White Guy?
Oh my God, that's the perfect description of him. Oh,
that is the best way I can describe it. He's the lead singer from The Offspring because of the hair. With that spiky blonde hair he had in this movie, okay?
Oh my God, he is Dexter.
I'm sorry if I'm joking.
It's okay.
But it's true, though. He's trying too hard to be this hardcore cocaine or meth addict, drug pusher. He just tried way too hard. He tried to be fly for a white guy. It just did not work for him. He had these bright color shirts. I remember, I think he had a green one. He had a purple one. You know what I mean? Like these, like you would not, I wouldn't be caught dead wearing in a nightclub. Even if I was that drunk or that stupid, you wouldn't catch me wearing that type of shirts. The chains around his neck, the cowboy boots. Listen, it's Louisiana. I get it. You have to wear the boots. So that's a different story. But I'm just like, you're trying too hard. It just reminded me of that song, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. And I thought that would be the perfect description for him. His acting was, it was okay. I wouldn't call it his best work. I think Starship Troopers was his better work, I think.
Well, it's also a much better movie, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think... Sorry, Jake, buddy, but you're not the greatest actor in the Busey family. Your dad, who's a total nutcase, is better. And we've seen him in some great movies. Point Break is still my favorite with him in it. But I think he just tried a little too hard to be that fly white guy, and it did not work very well for him.
I mean, don't go into Roadhouse 2 expecting subtlety. I mean, this movie is subtle like a sledgehammer, but I think they tried too hard to make him this badass Louisiana drug pushing character, right? Like the threesome in the hot tub and the gangsta music that's playing ad nauseum, and like just the the pushing around his boys, like they tried too hard. But I found near the end of the film, like once all pretense was gone, right? Once that he felt like the business was his, once he felt like Victor Cross was kind of out of the way, he got better. At least the character got better. At least it felt more menacing, right? Like, and the other thing too is he keeps on pushing that he wanted to be, he thought he was the best bouncer out there, and the fact that he was fired from the Black Pelican, and this kind of seems to be the ulterior motive for him wanting to buy out the Black Pelican, not just use it for drug pushing and whatnot. I mean, yeah, there's some depth there, but I just wish it was a little bit more nuanced the way he was portrayed. Again, subtle like a sledgehammer.
Yeah, I mean, but he was definitely not fly for a white guy.
Mm-hmm. It's like literally you could have had him walk in to any scene, put some clown music underneath, and you'd probably get the same effect. Using the music to
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, right. Like
that
don't
would have been the
be,
perfect theme music.
Yeah, you don't need to be that didactic about it, right? We get it. He's a bad guy. He's a gangster. We don't need bad gangster rap playing all at the same time. Like, just let him be. Let him be, and let the character develop. That's where I said that's where he reminds me of the song. He's pretty fly for a white guy. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He probably he was trying to buy it, Run DMC, but he got Vanilla Ice instead. You know what I mean? Or he got Snow Informer instead. You know what I mean? It just, and listen, no disrespect to Snow. He is Canadian. He actually was good. He did have Informer as one big hit single. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like that. It's that type of character. You're like, what the... That's the best way to put it. It's like, what were you people thinking? You know what I mean?
Vanilla down south, Vanilla Ice pushing drugs. That's basically what Wild Bill is. But then on the other side, you've got Nate Tanner, right? As played by Will Patton, owner of the Black Pelican, uncle to Shane Tanner. How was he for you?
I thought, again, I like Will Patton. He's been in some great movies. One of my favorite movies with him is definitely Armageddon, but another one that you should have mentioned was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like he had, first of all, he's the owner of the Black Pelican. And I think he portrays the, bouncer, cooler, owner type of deal, you know what I mean, in this movie. And I thought he did great because he reminds me part of when he played Gone in 60 Seconds character and Armageddon. You put it in together. There's your not drunken, but I mean your cooler, crazy, wild, but also calm and collective. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He thinks of things. He thinks of ways to resurrect stuff. You know what I mean? And tries to do everything kind of in a cool way. So I think he did a great job, for the scenes that he was in, except for the part where he got the crap kicked out of him, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I thought he did a decent job in the movie.
Yeah. I mean,
I liked him. I like him as an actor. I thought he's been a very good actor.
Yeah. I mean, yes, Armageddon is a great film. I actually found he was one of the better parts of the Thomas Jane Punisher film as the right-hand man to John Travolta in that. Like,
yes.
his arc in that was actually very good. And, Punisher is another one of those movies that we'll probably have to go down that road at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Right?
Matter of fact, if I watch it, I love, granted, I understand John Travolta as Mr. Sane was not the greatest, but I'm going to tell you, he put that character perfectly as best as he could, though.
Mm-hmm.
But as Will Patton as his right-hand man, I forgot the character's name, but it doesn't matter at this point.
Right.
He did such a phenomenal job acting and portraying the concierge of the family very well, like if he was playing in The Godfather of Robert Duvall, but a hardcore version of what you see today, not the 70s of the Corleone family. So I think he did that part justice very well. He played it perfectly.
And the fact that, he's Dalton's brother, right? He's also a bar owner.
Yes.
He's basically his own cooler. So it makes sense that Nate is also a very good fighter as well. And that's, that fight scene down at the dock when he gets duped to get down, to meet down there to find out who the mole is on his team. I am really impressed with what he brought to the film. Right? He brought the presence that needed to be there. Now, someone pointed out on IMDb, really, 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 like you have to watch the scene, but he gets stabbed in the back at the hospital, and then they put him on his back on the bed. Is the knife still there? Because I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to rip the knife out.
They probably ripped the knife out. Knowing whoever that actor was, I think they took the knife out.
Yeah, that's the healthcare system right there for you. But I mean,
especially down south.
Yeah, but he also fits the Louisiana vibe very well too, right? Like
he does.
Not with an overdone accent, but he fits the vibe of the community that's there. Like I think Will Patton may have been too good for this role, but he definitely brought it to another level, and I wasn't expecting that good acting in this.
No, and I want to be honest with you, he is a Southern boy. He is from Charleston, South Carolina. Born there. Yeah, as I'm looking at his Wikipedia, he was born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1954. So for him to play that Southern part, I think was a good pick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But let's move over to Richard Norton, who played Victor Cross, the big boss of the syndicate. Not going to lie, a tad ineffectual for me.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't, I don't know. He didn't do it for me. He was, I don't know. He was just, it was out of character.
Like, this is the guy that Wild Bill is supposed to be, like licking the boots to. Like, this is the guy that Wild Bill's like an underling to. Like, okay, yes, he's on a boat and he has the ability to charter a plane to fly into the bayou kind of thing. Like, I get it, but nothing about Victor Cross and the portrayal of him led me to believe him in the role of this big mafioso crime boss. No,
definitely not. I mean, as I'm looking at his Wikipedia and his movies, the only thing he was known for is for his karate, because he's been in a lot of B, C, and D movie karates here. There's actually one with Chuck Norris, The Octagon, which I never heard of. The only big name movie that I see besides Roadhouse 2, he's been in 2 Chuck Norris movies. I mean, was American Ninja.
Yeah, but he was uncredited in American Ninja.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he was in Mad Max Fury.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's been in action movies. Let's not forget Jim Cotta. No one can forget Jim Cotta, especially once you've seen it. But, he's got fighting movie credentials. At least let him kill someone. Like,
yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, but like that. But there's the thing, right? He's pissed off that Wild Bill isn't getting things done as they need to be done. Kill somebody. Show me you're the bad guy.
Yeah, don't let Jack Busey take all your credit.
Right?
Which he did. Well, he did. I mean, Jack Busey was his bitch. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm that old and I'm that lazy, I might as well have the bitch do all my work. Because if someone's going to get pinched, it's going to be him, not me. So he kind of played it right, though. Because if the cops come after him, he's got somebody to put the pin it on. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but if I'm Wild Bill, I'm not scared of this guy. I'm not.
No, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't be either.
No. Speaking of Wild Bill, though, his right-hand lady, Nadja, is played by Marissa Quintanilla, the knife-wielding sidekick to Wild Bill. She impressed me in this one, but how was she for you?
She impressed me with her knife skills, I'll tell you that much. She was an attractive woman, you know what I mean? She's an American-born woman, Americana, with the, last name of Quintanilla, Mexican. But she's born in America. She's very attractive. She actually did this movie pretty good. I thought she was better than I thought she was going to be in this movie. I wish she had more depth in her role. Instead of the knife swinging, I want to kill you, girl.
Yeah. The silent but deadly.
That's what she was. Yeah, the silent but deadly look. Yeah.
She is the stinky fart of the film, silent but deadly.
Yes.
But the thing is, though, it's her fight with Bo at the end of the film when you got the big conflict at the end that I think is actually one of the better fights. Like I'm fine with the silent killer. I'm fine with someone being the you mess with me, you mess with her, and she's going to mess you up kind of vibe. And it didn't feel out of place for what she was doing there.
No, I mean for the beginning of the movie, you're like, eye candy, kind of. You know what I mean? when you put Jake Busey next to her, what are you really going to look at? You're really going to look at Jake?
Mm-hmm. No.
I'd rather look at her. So that she's the eye candy of that part of the movie for him.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like,
because of his bad acting in this movie.
Yeah.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
But I mean, she's the Black Widow in this, right? Like she is, she's supposed to be that kind of presence, like that badass bad girl who will mess you up 6 ways to Sunday. And if you take a look at, for lack of a better term, B movies, right? Because this went straight to video. So technically speaking, it's a B movie, right? You take a look at a movie like Samurai Cop, and it's got the redhead there, and I can't remember what her actual name is. But I mean, all she did was sit there, wear sunglasses, point a gun occasionally, and was ineffectual, right? Here, Nadia did stuff. She killed.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, exactly. She throwing the knife. She was kicking ass. She had a really good fight with Bo. It was believable, and it worked. And that's the kind of henchman that made Wild Bill effective. The rest of his team were
a bunch of punks,
right? Like literally, like there's henchmen and goons, right?
Yes.
Nadia is a henchman. Everyone else on his team were goons. And there's a difference, right?
There's a huge difference.
There is a huge difference. Goons are like cannon fodder. Those are the ones you send out in the first wave to get rid of the ammunition on the other side. You hold on to the henchman, or in this case, the henchwoman, and then you unleash your secret weapon. Very well done. Very well done. Lawrence Varnado, who played Luther, he was the mole as far as the bouncer team goes inside the Black Pelican.
Yes, he was.
I actually didn't mind him in this.
No, I think he played a small role, but being that his role was not like huge, but I thought he did a decent job as being the mole and being the bouncer, like I'm going to protect everybody. But I thought he did a decent job acting it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I appreciated what he did in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, again, movie is subtle like a hammer. And, it's not like you had to guess who the mole was. It was right out there on Front Street. And why no one else is like, Luther, you might want to not pimp our owner out to be killed by everybody. But the fact that he is the double agent, the fact that he is in there, we all know he's the mole, right? How no one else pointed it out to him, is beyond me. But that's just the scripting issue. He was good. And it's not like he overplayed, the mole aspect at times. Yes, the movie could have been a bit more subtle in the reveal of who the mole was. But I mean, that's not on Lawrence Varnado. That's a script issue.
True. That is a script issue. That's not on him.
Yeah, absolutely. James Otto. Now, the name doesn't sound familiar. He's the singer of the band that's playing at the Black Pelican seemingly every night. Now, if you watched the first Roadhouse, it's famous for bringing to global attention one Mr. Jeff Healey and his band.
Yes.
And Jeff Healey Jeff Healey was so much fun in that first film. And he was his character not only played a part in, being the not just the voice of reason, but the inside voice for Dalton when he got to the Double Deuce, but he also humanized Dalton a little bit as well.
Yes, he did.
I get that
the name is Dalton.
Yeah, I get that they were trying to have that Jeff Healey kind of feel to James Otto, but they gave him one line of dialogue. You could have put any band in there.
Yeah, you know what? On that, they should have just not put They shouldn't have just gave him a line. First of all, Jeff Healey band was the band, perfect band in the '80s for that movie. Oh, I mean they played such great hits, and they were actually a band. You know what I mean? Outside of this movie. And they were big in your area because they were from Canada.
Oh, absolutely. I remember working downtown, and the studio that I worked at, we were literally down the road from Jeff Healey's, the bar that he owned.
And that's awesome. I mean, you really can't go wrong with that stuff because I think they he did such a great job in that movie. First of all, he's a blind guitarist who plays a mean freaking guitar.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he proved it in the movie, and he proved it. I mean, don't get me wrong. He didn't have 18,000 gold records, but the man could actually sing and play a guitar blind. He did such a phenomenal job in the first movie. In the second movie, this guy was just, whatever. You know what I mean? I'll say my one-liner and I'm done. You know, even the band from the Desperado movie, that guy, you know, he's the lead singer in that movie, at least had 3 lines, and well, actually, I think he had 4 or 5 lines, actually, but he still got the point across, besides singing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like James Otto doesn't have albums out. He's got 3 albums out. First one was released in 2004. Most recent one was 2010. So there is music out there. He is an actual musician. You know, it's not just like, you know, it's not like Jonathan Skate as lead singer of the Oneaters, but...
No, but it just, for him, his character in this movie, I don't know, I just didn't feel... I don't know. I just didn't feel that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, give him more to do or don't give him anything, because part of the problem with this film is that there's a lot of characters there where it feels like they're setting them up for something bigger. And then we don't see them anymore. Case in point, Crystal Mantecan, who played Shane's DEA partner at the bus at the beginning of the film. She's the one who's like in the underwear and has him in handcuffs and give him a little, like, I'm like, okay, there's a partner here, like they're playful with each other, and then we never see her again.
They should have just done that for his part.
Yeah, I mean, I get you're using this scene to show just how serious Shane is. He cannot be, you know, swayed by hot girl in underwear. Like, really? That's how you're going to portray Shane's seriousness?
You could persuade me that easily, and I'm married.
But there's a lot of who the is this person in this movie, right?
There's a lot in this movie, like, who the fuck is this person?
It's just, if you're going to introduce characters, give them purpose, right? Because
I agree with you.
Yeah, because it's not like they couldn't act. It's just that they didn't have anything to act with as far as a script goes.
Act on. Yeah.
Right?
Again, I think this script, if Patrick Swayze did the script a little bit and helped out with it and it was in this movie, I could see this movie being completely differently done. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, he backed out of the movie, as we said earlier. And I just felt like they just rushed the script to get a movie out there. And this is why it went didn't go into theaters. No one knew about it until you hit DVD. I don't even think anybody on DVD knew it was on DVD. Like I said, I didn't even know this movie existed until I saw it on FX HD or something, you know what I mean, many years ago. And you're like, wow, this isn't that bad, but it wasn't the greatest, but the acting wasn't the greatest. It's like watching the first season of 90210. Bad acting.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when you see a sequel to like a beloved movie, right, you get worried. I'm sure people lost their mind when they heard that there was a Tron sequel coming out, and then it came out and it was really good, but you know, who knows what people had as far as their expectations go. I'm one where it's like, if it's a classic movie and you're not continuing the story, you're not bringing back some of those actors, you don't have that kind of connection, then my expectation is 0%, because I've seen some really, really, really bad sequels that have really nothing to do with the original. This basically felt like they rewrote the original with some little tweaks here and there. So I'm going to ask you before we get to the end here, was this film not good, but was it even necessary?
I don't think the film was necessary, but they had to put something out there, I think. But it was so many years later to introduce somebody. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm glad it went right to DVD. I don't think it would have done well in theaters. I think it would have got booted off, you know, opening weekend. Mm-hmm. Do I enjoy the movie? Yeah, when I'm home with a beer in my hand, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Am I going to go out to watch and rush for it? No, not really.
I mean, this feels like the kind of movie where, like, if you go to Blockbuster and you get your 7 movies for 7 days and you just got to find that 7th movie, this feels like the kind of one that you would kind of grab. But in that 7 movies for 7 days, just grab the last film. I know there are movies in the past where I've grabbed the film because, like, hey, I like some of the cast, or hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
And they've been really, really, really good. This film, again, if you go in expecting a 0% film, of which a lot of some of these like unasked for sequels are, then you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's kind of like optimism through pessimism, right? Go in expecting the worst. And if the worst doesn't happen, you're pleasantly surprised. If the worst does happen, well, guess what? You were right anyways, right? So
true.
Go in expecting absolutely nothing, and you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. But now we've got this Roadhouse movie out, and as you mentioned before, we've got the new Jake Gyllenhaal one being made. So I'm going to ask you, even before that movie comes out, is that movie necessary?
That's a great question, Jason. Very great question. First of all, we've always talked, you and I, and you know my whole thing about reboots.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. I'm going to give you a perfect example what people don't know about Roadhouse. So I have this coworker born in the 90s. And I was talking to another older coworker of mine. He's about 8 years older than me. And we were talking about the movie Roadhouse. And he goes, "What's Roadhouse?" I go, and the first words that come out of my mouth is, "Are you f***ing kidding me?" And he looks at me with a plain sight. He goes, "No, what is it?" I go, "It's called an American movie classic. Look it up, watch it, and then you write a 10-page report on it, and you tell me what you thought of the movie." The kid saw the movie, and he told me it sucked.
Oh.
I almost wanted to hit him.
Hey, take it outside. Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Oh, I was a bouncer myself, so I know. I used those 3 rules. I used his rules growing up, as a bouncer too. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted I wasn't going to be nice on that one because Roadhouse is an American movie classic. It's something I loved very much. As an I wouldn't call myself like a bouncer like him, you know what I mean? But, you learn a lot from that movie, how to control crowds and people, you know what I mean, what to say. But to hear that someone say that the movie sucked, I was really pissed off. Because I thought it was a great movie. Now, if you said that about Roadhouse 2, I'm not going to mind it as much. Now, the new and upcoming Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, which I first saw a picture of Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, from what I'm gathering on this film, they started making the film this year. And Jake Gyllenhaal is the new Dalton, who replaces Patrick Swayze for the new upcoming 2023 year. Amazon's making it. From what I'm hearing is that the premise of this movie is an ex-UFC middleweight fighter ends up working at a roadhouse in the Florida Keys where things are not seen as they seem. So for me, it's saying it's like Double Deuce, but a younger generation now. Or, the generation that we know it now. So what do I think of it? I think it's a different portrayal of Roadhouse because we know Dalton was not an MMA fighter. We knew he loved martial arts, right? You're talking about Patrick Swayze, Sam Elliott, who you cannot replace. And then I think about the way I saw Jake Gyllenhaal in his, as they were making the movie, they actually did it at a UFC fight this year, recording the movie there. And I watched it a little bit and I noticed one thing is Jake Gyllenhaal's ripped as hell. It looks like it might be a fun movie, but also the bad guy is Conor McGregor, a UFC fighter, of course. So I'm looking forward to see what they're going to bring to this.
Okay, obviously we'll have to cross that bridge when that movie comes out, but I'm going to throw a hypothetical situation here. Getting back to Roadhouse 2 here. If I were to hand you a blank DVD case with this movie inside, with the name Roadhouse completely scrubbed from it, with any mention of Dalton removed. You just have Nate Tanner and his nephew Shane, right? Nothing to do at all with the first Roadhouse. It's just a movie called Last Call that just happens to have,
I'll be interested.
Yeah, so some similar plot points to Roadhouse, but it's not a sequel. If someone hands you this movie with those changes, is this a better movie for you because it's not connected to the original?
I think it would have been a better idea instead of calling it Roadhouse 2, The Last Call. I think if you dropped Roadhouse, I would agree with you.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear Roadhouse 2, and you hear Dalton, and I'm sorry, I literally did lose count after about like 25 times hearing the name Dalton. Like, seriously?
Oh, God, yeah. I know.
Is there a quota you have to hit for writing his name in there? Was that part of the contract for actually getting the storyline? But just, it doesn't need to be a sequel. Not everything needs to be a sequel.
I mean, there's so many movies that really cannot surpass the sequel. And there's only been a few that I know of. Godfather 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 1 and 2.
Empire Strikes Back.
Well, that's a given, but I'm talking about like people who, I mean, Empire Strikes Back, yes, of course. Star Wars, anything with Star Wars is in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy those. And the newest Spider-Man with Tom Holland was really good. Wasn't very fond of Andrew Garfield, but I thought he did a decent job.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2.
Oh, don't forget X-Men. X-Men and X-Men 2 were phenomenal.
Deadpool 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. Grown Ups 1 and 2. I loved a lot. So there's a lot. There's not a lot of huge movies that surpass the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like impossible. I mean, great example, The Dukes of Hazzard. They had one, and they had the prequel. The first one with Sean Scott and Johnny Knoxville and Jessica Simpson should have just did that one. Never did the prequel. That was the worst thing they ever did.
Yeah, like we didn't need sequels to movies like Dumb and Dumber. We didn't need Wild Things 2 and 3 and 4.
Could have used Cruel Intentions 1 and Skulls 1.
Well, I mean, the fact that Cruel Intentions itself was just basically a modern-day retelling of Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's so much more. I mean, I keep hearing, and I don't know if Hollywood's running out of ideas or what, but the one movie, I swear, do not remake. Please, God, in the holy name. Do not touch Ferris Bueller's Days Off.
Oh,
Don't
no.
reboot a movie like this. You do it, I swear to God, Hollywood, I'm going to be the one. I'll be your worst nightmare in history.
Dude, don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas. No, but
that's been tossed, that idea. I get it. It's got some of these movies do not need reboots.
No.
Leave them the way they are. Forrest Gump does not need a reboot. Leave it the way it is. Okay, one of my personal favorite movies. Cannonball Run. 1 and 2. Leave those alone.
Mm-hmm.
Change, you know what? Use the idea of the Cannonball Run, but try renaming like they did with Speed Zone, but that movie flopped.
Well, I mean, there was also Rat Race as well, and that was very much in the spirit of Cannonball.
But it was a comedy movie because then you can use any kind of vehicle, though.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example of this is A Fish Called Wanda, right?
Yes.
You don't make a sequel to it, but they took the exact same cast, gave them a different story, and they made Fierce Creatures. And it's a great film. It's a fun film, and with that cast, it works. It's not a sequel. It's just the same cast having more fun together.
Well, here you go. Here's a great one. So Major League, the movie. Mm-hmm. We all loved the first one with Charlie Sheen.
Yep.
We all liked the second one, which was funny. But they made a third one, which I actually tend to like. Back to the Minors with Scott Bakula. I thought that movie was freaking hilarious. I thought the third movie was done perfectly. You know what I mean? Because it did involve with almost all the cast members from the first one. Maybe 3 or 4 members. And the rest is all new cast. You know what I mean? So they did something different, even though it's a major league movie, but it was not part of the major league. It's part of the minors now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kids are trying to make the majors. They play the Minnesota Twins because Roger Dorn now owns them. You know what I mean? So like Dorn's in the movie, Pedro Serrano, Taka Tanaka, names that you're familiar with from the first and second movies.
Yeah.
But, you don't need a Jake Taylor or Charlie Sheen.
No, but I mean, but there's the thing. You had characters from the predecessors still involved. Here, you had nothing. You had nothing but a name said repeatedly about 47,000 times.
Well, in the first half hour, I think they repeated it like 22 times.
Oh, yeah. Like, dear God, don't ever turn this into a drinking game. You will not survive.
You won't make it past an hour in the movie.
No.
You'll literally die of comatose drunken overdose in an hour within this movie because I want to play the Dalton drinking game. Please, people, PDA, do not do it. Me and Jason here will forewarn you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't drink yourself that stupid.
This feels like a PSA at this point.
Now it does, yeah.
Dear
Lord.
people, do not watch Roadhouse 2 and take a drink every time you hear the name Dalton. You will die. You will die.
Yes, you will.
Okay.
And I'm drinking water only.
Right? Okay, drink water. Drink water every time you hear the name Dalton, and trust me, you will be well hydrated. You're good. But Gomez,
Yes.
It is time. So, who is your MVP of Roadhouse 2 Last Call?
Wow, MVP, I have to go with Shane Tanner.
Okay.
I just he actually did a good job acting the movie. He played the chisel guy, you know what I mean? I thought he did really good in this movie. If he was a non-MVP, it goes right to Jake Busey. Horrible acting, Jake Busey. Because he's pretty fly for a white guy.
Oh, dear God. Oh, Jake Busey. But you know what's funny? Shane Tanner is not my MVP.
Okay, who is your MVP then?
I had to go with Ellen Holman as Bo.
Okay.
I thought she brought so much more to the character, and she took a weak spot of the original film and elevated it to one of the best parts of this film. And I love the fact that her career seems to kind of be on the rise and she's getting roles in bigger movies. If you can be in a straight to DVD sequel that no one asked for and elevate it as she did with good acting, with good delivery, with good physical fighting in this film, like she is, in my opinion, the best part of the movie. Gomez, thank you so much for joining in. Now, before we go, the mic is yours. Please let us know all about the Sleevy G Show.
So the Sleevy G Show, I just had Jason come on my show on episode 3. We were talking about Tony Hawk's video game and soundtrack. Check it out on YouTube on Sleevy G Show on YouTube. Also check out my website, sleevygpodcast.com. I'm also a blogger. I blog about some important things of autism. One of my 3 of my best pieces I think I have on my blog. I do video game reviews. I am going to start doing some movie reviews very soon. My show is all about fun, man. We had Jason recently on the show. I had Brian Colburn from my weekly mixtape. I had Diana from Sober Peru. I had Christina Bear, Cara DeFalco. I talked to everybody in general. Right now it's been legitimately in the state of New Jersey, but I like to branch out. I am talking to a West Coast band to maybe jump in the show. I have Jason and my buddy Andres from Latin Jukebox came on. So my show is about everything. It's no politics, but it's about food, video games, movies, sports, action, anything you could think of. So, check me out on Instagram too, Sleevy G. So you can find me at, like I said, anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. Please leave a 5-star review and comment. And if you're checking me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, please. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. Jason, I definitely can't wait to get you back on there. I know we were going to talk about some stuff after the show tonight, but I'm looking forward to having you back on. Of course, you were a big hit on my show as the 3rd episode, you know what I mean? And I was an honor to have you on, man. And we made some changes on the Sleevy G Show a little bit. Got a little backdrop now for the YouTube channel. Sleevy G, now I got a little bit of a swag going on with my new hat, Sleevy G Show. So got some upgrades already for the show.
Oh, I saw some of the merch, and the merch looks really, really good there. So, so the keychains looked really awesome. That's really, really cool. Gomez, thank you. You know you've always got an open spot on this show, and you know we're going to drag you over onto There Can Only Be One. That's going to happen.
That is happening. We are going to set a date, I think, tonight
yes.
on that. So I'll be back soon, folks, and we're going to talk some good music on that one.
Oh, that's going to be a tough episode to do. That one's going to be tough.
It is. I'm already regretting that one, but I agreed to do that one.
Well, you know what you signed up for, sir.
Yes, I did. I know when I sign up for any show.
And to you, the listeners, thank you so much. Now, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is just so bad that there's no way in hell that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on Twitter at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. There you can find our coming soon page and see some of the movies that we are preparing for future episodes. There's a comment section there. Let us know what you thought of those movies. Get a shout out in the show. For Gomez, I'm Jason. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad. Take care.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, Skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.